Now that we're to the end of chapter 5, let's go ahead and summarize what we've learned and understand how to identify the difference between the equations and therefore identify which conic section we're talking about based on characteristics of its equation. Okay, so let's go with the general form equation ax squared plus by squared plus cx plus dy plus e equals 0 for various coefficients a, b, c, d, and e, and see what we need to look for exactly to figure out what would make this a parabola, a circle, a hyperbola, or an ellipse. So if just one variable is squared, so say that either a is 0 or b is 0, so one of these terms does not exist, but the others do, then this would be a parabola. And then we would take that general form and complete the square so that we have it in our standard form. So I'm just going to go through and summarize our standard form formulas here for us one more time, and just to kind of see them all together in one place, but you've also got them on your formula sheets so that you can know which ones on the formula sheets are which, right? If you want to add other just reminder details here, you can, just so this is kind of a study guide, right? All right, if both variables are squared, then it could be a circle, an ellipse, or a hyperbola. So we've got to focus in on the coefficients of x squared and y squared. If a equals b, so if a and b are exactly equal, that means they're the same sign and everything. So if this one's positive and this one's positive and they're the same number, or if this one's negative and this one's negative and they're the same exact number, then that graph is a circle. All right, and of course our standard form for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r. And if there were an a and b value that were not equal to 1, that would be divided out from everything and would become part of that r value when all is said and done. We've seen examples like that. All right, next. If a is not equal to b, but a and b have the same sign, so they're both positive different numbers, or both negative different numbers, then the graph is an ellipse. And the reason they can just be either both positive or both negative is if you factor out the negative, then you've got just the two positives left, which is what defines an ellipse and makes it different than a hyperbola. And the thing that makes it different from a circle is that those coefficients, ax squared and bx squared, are different. And that means when we divide everything by the number to get the 1 on the right side, we get different numbers dividing each fraction to identify our a and b values, which are different than just the same number being the radius. Okay, so here our standard form for this is x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Again, these values have to be different, but everything is positive. Well, not the numbers in the parentheses. Those don't have to be positive. H and k don't have anything to do with it. But the coefficients, the overall part of both of them is positive, or if it was negative, that's something we would factor out. It would work out. We're just looking at the actual general form starting out. If a and b have different signs, the graph is a hyperbola. Now notice that this did not differentiate between a and b are different or a and b are the same, because for a hyperbola it doesn't matter. They can be exactly the same coefficient, they can be different numbers, but they have to be opposite signs, one positive and one negative. And when we get those into standard form, we end up with either x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1, and that's for our horizontal hyperbola. Or we can have y minus k squared over b squared minus x minus h squared over a squared. And don't forget with those that the x part of this is our h and our a value, and the y part of this is our k and our b value. And even if they're in different spots than we're used to, we need to make sure in our coordinates that h goes first and goes left and right, and k goes second, and b goes up and down. So this would be our vertical hyperbola like this, right? Okay, so all of these have at least one of them that's squared. Either the x is squared or the y is squared or both. If the coefficients are different signs, it's a hyperbola. If the coefficients are the same sign but different numbers, it's an ellipse. If the coefficients are the same sign and the same number, it is a circle. And if only one of the two variables, either x or y, is squared, we get a parabola.